Thank you very much. I am super impressed with the picture with the trumpets and the trombones. That is, who just has that laying around their church? I mean, wow, that's pretty impressive. I'm so excited to get to be with you all today. Today, in this session, we're talking about sort of the nitty-gritty practicals of getting started and equipping and supporting parents. Because I find once I, in my journey, began to get really deep down inside of me that parents are really important and that they are the primary disciplers. I came back from my big revelation moment and was like, congratulations, parents. It's all on you. It's not me, it's you. Oh my goodness, what a relief for me. And I'm sure you'll do great. Good luck with that. And what happened was it dumped on my parents that I worked with this huge and heavy weight of responsibility of being able to do it. And I thought, well, as long as I just tell them they can do it, they'll be fine. And what we found is over and over again, if you begin to work with parents, no matter how many times we say it, often we don't get that response of parents going, oh, I'm so pleased it's me. I can do this. I feel totally confident in this. And so we need to begin to equip and support and empower them to do it rather than just dumping it on them. And I find that this dump can crush them, can almost paralyze them. They begin to realize, I am a discipler of my child in the home. And what we notice over and over again is they begin to freeze, sometimes through insecurity, through not knowing what to do or how to do it. And so for me, I began to think of, how do I need to change my approach? How do I need to be different than what I was before, so that my parents that I work with can feel empowered and supported rather than just dumped on? And I began to talk with them and reflect with them, and what I found was that they saw the church sort of like a dentist. Now, I have recently been to the dentist, as have my team. It was like my entire team was like, it's dentist season. So we've been to the dentist, and if you are like me, your experience of the dentist feels something like this. You sort of go to the dentist either because you are a responsible adult who gets your regular checkups, or you're like me, you turn around and go, man, it's been 3 years, I should probably do something. Or you have a pain, there's something going on in your body that you're like, I need to have somebody sort this out. So you book an appointment with the dentist. And you go to the dentist and it looks something like this. You sit down in the sort of consultation chair over here, and you sit down, and they sit down over there, and they're like, tell me what's going on. And you're like, why have you come here today? And so you first have to admit why you're there. It's because I haven't been in 3 years. And then she goes, oh, this is what happened to me like 2 weeks ago. Oh, okay, well then. So do you brush your teeth 2 times a day? And you go, absolutely, yes. Oh, I love brushing my teeth for 2 minutes at a time, religiously. And so I don't know if about you, I completely lie to this dentist. Yes, sure, yes, unless I, fall asleep while putting my child to bed, or I'm too lazy, or I've already been in bed and I can't be bothered to get out. But yes, 2 times a day, 2 minutes at a time. Do you floss? Yes, I do. I don't know why I lie. I think there's something about feeling judged, and there's an expectation. And if I tell the truth, then I'm going to get the lecture. So I'm just going to say, yes, I do anyways. And then they put you in the chair and they, recline you back. And then they open your mouth, and then they look inside, and they dig around inside and announce to everybody in the room exactly their assessment of what is in there. And so, 1, 2, 3, cavity, 4, 5, 6, plaque. And they root around in very private and vulnerable bits of you and expose all of your failures over the past 3 years. And then they fix it. And so you leave feeling grateful that you've been there, you feel benefited, they fix whatever is wrong with it. But I don't know, but I leave it like slightly ashamed and glad I got out of there with only the judgment that I got. Now that is not in a dentist's heart. No dentist, well, I can't say no dentist. Most dentists I know aren't like, why I got into this? To humiliate people. But there's something inside of us that can feel shame even though it's not being put on us, because we know there's an expectation and we're not meeting it. And I think many parents feel that way about the church. They want their kids to have faith. They want themselves to flourish spiritually, but they feel like they go to the experts, us as a church, and that we ask them, are you reading the Bible with your kids? Are you worshiping at home? Are you praying? You know, we have the things that you're supposed to be doing as parents, and if you're not doing it, then we know and judge you slightly. And if there's something going wrong with your kids, then we root around and we say, bring them to us and we'll sort out their fear. We'll sort that out. And we as a dentist can be the one that says, bring them to the experts. We'll sort it out. Do the homework that I tell you to do and go away, and then you'll sort it out. And that feeling is quite heavy. Very few people leave the dentist going, woohoo, I nailed that. High fives, everyone. Can't wait to come back. And we want that for our parents. We don't want them to come to us as a dentist. I would propose instead being IKEA. Now, who has been to IKEA? Okay, so you know. IKEA, for those of you who don't know, is a magical wonderland of, it is a big warehouse that has loads of different stuff, and at the first floor they have like little home rooms, would you say? Little rooms that sort of have set up life so that it sort of feels like you're passing by somebody's house. It's all set up and it's all of their stuff. And so IKEA has an agenda for you, and a dentist has an agenda for you. They want you to keep your teeth clean and, you know, be healthy. IKEA has an agenda. They want you to buy stuff. But the way they approach their agenda is very different. IKEA says, welcome. You are unique and different than everybody else in the entire world. Come, walk on our path with the arrows on it, through our little scenario, and look at different rooms and see how it goes, and investigate what you like and see what fits you best. What is your personality of experience? And so you sort of go from room to room and you go, oh, do I like that? IKEA goes, look, a beautiful orange fuzzy lampshade. Is this you? And you're like, oh, I don't know. I think that's terrible. And then you walk past and IKEA goes, look, a completely black kitchen. Is this you? And you're like, oh, I don't know. I never thought about it, but it's so smooth on the top. Maybe I do like black sparkly kitchens. And you walk past and you pick up kitchen utensils you never thought you needed. And you buy rugs that you had no intention of buying because you just come in and you experience a bunch of different options. Because IKEA is saying, if you like a sofa, there are so many choices because you are different than everybody else. People like going to IKEA. Now, there's some people who don't like going to IKEA, primarily not because of IKEA, but because of the experience of shopping with relatives. And so I'm going to set that aside. But even the people who don't like IKEA will show up, find a comfy couch, and be like, come back to me later, and have a great little time of personal time in there. But there is something about going to IKEA for joy, for experience, for feeling empowered to say, I can be me and I can be different than everybody else. What if we were that for parents? What if we were able to say, parents, you are unique and different than everybody else in the whole world. God has called you to parent your unique, specific kids and help them meet and know God. And we're here to help you find your path and your journey. We're here to help it look however it's supposed to look for you. We're here to serve you, equip you, support you, because you've got this. And we can help you find the tool you need and the resources you need to do your job well. You are not alone. We got your back. And we're here to help you find your path. That's it. We're here to serve you and help you find your path. How would parents feel about us? How would they come to us and ask us questions? How would we have to shift our scenarios of how we resource parents? So often we get into the trap of giving parents ideas. Here's 1,000 things for you to do. But what if we shifted our hearts to say, you've got this. How can I help you see all the different ways it can look like you so that you can see your kids flourish? What would it take for us to shift in our approach to parents? And so before we go on to the practicals of how to cast vision for parents and how to skill them up, I just want us to pause to think about that question, because it requires a shift of our heart. For me, it required a shift from, I'm the expert, I have ideas, even when I was like, parents are the primary disciplers, I still had my plan for how parents should be the primary disciplers. And actually, my heart is for parents to find what works for them best. And that might not be one of my top 4 suggestions. But it doesn't matter what I think is the best way to implement connection with God at home. What matters is what they feel is right for them and their kids. And so it takes a shift of my heart to say, I trust you with your kids. I trust you to be able to find it. And my job is to give you the options so that you can find yours. There is no one right way to parent for faith. There is your way, and I can help you find the way that you flourish best in. And it takes that step down in that raising up of parents, because parents need to be believed in. They need to be encouraged and loved and treated with honor, because then they can experience the fullness of parenting. I firmly believe that one of the greatest joys of parenting is helping your kid meet and know God. And when we give that gift to parents, we see them flourish. And so I just want to hand it back to Gemma and Gail as we head into a little bit of a discussion on what it would look like to be IKEA rather than a dentist. Now, if you were having a discussion and one of you in your group was a IKEA naysayer, can you raise your hands if you had an IKEA naysayer, people who don't like IKEA at your table? They exist, yeah, proudly say. There's a couple of them. That's okay, because what I find interesting about people who don't like IKEA is they don't like it for a reason. And IKEA has tried to problem solve that. And so for me, when I say be IKEA, IKEA hasn't just been like, well, then we're not for you, and sort of left you to it. What they've done is said, okay, well, what do you not like about this process, and how can I make space for you as well? So people who find it unnavigable, they have maps everywhere, they have arrows on the floor. For people who find it too much choice, they have people who are there next to you who can be like, hello, do you need us to narrow it down for you? They've tried to problem solve what people dislike about IKEA so that they still have the choice. If they need more guidance, they have someone to give them more guidance. If they don't want to have to walk through the whole building, there's shortcuts. If you want to order online and just show up and get it and leave, you can. And so they've said, for the people who it doesn't work for, how can we still enable them to have vision and choice and possibilities, but take away the stuff they don't like? So just because you had someone who is like, I don't like IKEA, doesn't mean that it invalidates the analogy. It means that IKEA's had to problem solve, and we need to problem solve too. So we don't then take it away from parents, but we say, no, you can still have the experience, but I want it to work for you. A while ago, I was watching television. I don't know what it was, but it was on one of those ones with the adverts. And normally we try to save up, you know, how you like, it starts, and so then on my thing you can pause it, so then you can fast forward past the adverts. This was not one of those days. And we had tea, and we had pudding, and we were sitting there watching something, and I was watching, and then all of a sudden the screen went black. And out of nowhere, this light came up, and this deep, dark voice started talking at me. Moist, dark, Belgian chocolate, hand shaved by leprechauns in Belgium. And this plate of cake started spinning like in slow motion, and steam was coming off of it. And they were like gold kissed by fairies or sprinkled on the top of it. The best cake that's ever existed in the world. It was amazing. They were describing it. And then out of nowhere, this fork, like in slow motion, came and then cut through it and then did that thing that always happens on television, but I can never make it happen, where they pivot it slightly and the whole cake like opens. And the cake opened, and out of the middle came this molten chocolate. Ooh, and it was like molten chocolate, dark chocolate, 99% chocolate, so healthy. And it was amazing. And then at the end, it goes, it's not just food, it's... Yeah, there you go. Do you know what I'm talking about? And I had no desire for pudding. I had already had my pudding. I had no desire to have that cake whatsoever until they showed it to me. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I need that oozy chocolate cake in my life. And so then I tried to convince my husband to go get it for me, and he does not love me enough to leave at 9 o'clock at night to go to M&S, so fine. And so I had to wait till the next day when it was right across from my work, and I'm like, can I have that oozy chocolate thing? And the guy was like, it's over there, and there was like 5 other people going, oozy chocolate thing, yes! And they got it, and it was amazing. But I had no idea I needed that until I saw it. And often when we work with parents, we feel like we're trying to convince them to care about the spiritual life of their kids. It's like in our heads, we know they care, but we put on an event and then they don't all show up. And we're like, well, what's the point of that? Or, we try to give them letters home that say, why don't you try this at home? And then they don't do it. And we can feel discouraged in working with parents sometimes because we feel like they don't quite get it. They're not quite pursuing it the way we want them to pursue it. And I think that's because what we want to do sometimes is skip ahead to the activity. We're like, great, now parents can do this. Why don't you do something? And we skip to the do something phase. And there actually is a step before the do something phase. There is vision, and then there are skills. And parents need usually both of those before they can really start stepping into the activity of those. And if we just jump into, let me give you a resource to do it, they begin to just decide whether or not they're going to engage with that thing rather than become the parent they want to be. And so the first thing is we need to cast vision for parents. And this is not a vision of what kind of family you can be if only you did devotionals with your child. We're not going to cast a vision of the things you can do because that is not inspiring for very tired parents. I'm a tired parent. I don't have a lot of time to do something, much less something that involves craft. And so if you can cast me a beautiful vision of a wonderful activity, but my soul is like, I just can't even face that right now because I just can't. But what parents need is a vision of what is possible for their kids, what is on offer for their children, because that's the motivating factor. Parents help their kids meet and know God, not because they really like the craft activity. They help their kids meet and know God because they desperately want their child to meet and know God. And we need to cast them a vision of what that's like because we have the privilege of working with children. We know what a child who loves God looks like and the impact God can make on the life of a child. And often parents don't have that exposure. They actually don't know what a 2-year-old who genuinely likes singing to God looks like. They genuinely don't know what a 5-year-old who feels like they're in communication with God has in their life. They genuinely don't know that an 8-year-old can be dyslexic and can be writing at school and then feel like in their heart God saying, you can do it, I believe in you, don't give up, and feel that the encouragement of God can be in their everyday life at school. They don't know those stories. And so we have all of these wonderful stories of who God is in the life of a child. And if a parent doesn't know that, if they don't have that vision, then they don't have the motivation to do all the stuff that needs to happen for their kids to get there. And so one of the best gifts you can give parents is that vision of the spinning cake, except the spinning cake is instead, look what your child has in Christ. Look what God can do for your kid. Look what a child alive in God is like. And we have those stories from working with kids. So figure out ways to tell those stories, whether it's at the front from church, whether it's in texts home, whether it's in newsletters, whether it's in a little Facebook video that you pop up at the end of a Sunday that says, hey, this morning, we just had a 3-year-old who was really sad, and then God came and gave them a hug, and that kid really found the comfort of God. And you can do that at home anytime you want. God's comfort is on offer for your kids at any moment. Whatever it is, tell stories so parents can say, I want that. I want that for my kid. The second thing to do is to speak truth to our parents. There are so many lies that parents believe about themselves. I'm not good enough. I am not smart enough. I don't have enough theological prowess. The church is better than me. And we can say, no, none of that's true. It's you. But until we give them replaceable truth, then they don't have something to hang on to. They need other things to put in their head besides, I'm not good enough. So things like, you on your most exhausted day is exponentially more significantly and spiritually important in the life of your kid than the church can be on its best day. You as you are is more significant than me at my best, because that's how God made it. You have 3,000 hours a year with your kids. I have 50. Your ordinary everyday is the most powerful you can offer your kids. You can tell them about how parenting for faith is designed to work when you're exhausted. God gave you your kids when he gave them to you. He knew you were going to be tired. You don't have to be any better than you are. You, as you are, is exactly perfectly positioned. All of those truths that we've been talking about this morning. In the book, It Takes a Church to Raise a Parent, there's a whole chapter on this, on the truths that you can speak to parents. But give them those biblical truths. Give them those beliefs that they can remind themselves of, that you can say over them over and over again, so that they begin to grasp not only what's on offer for their child, but that they themselves can do it. Parenting for faith is just asking yourself, what's the next step for my child spiritually, and how can I help them take it? I say that like multiple times a day, my entire life working for a church, because parents are like, I don't know what's going to happen 15. And all I say is, it's just, what's the next step for my kid, and how can I help them take it? And you are the best positioned to know what that is. What are the truths that your parents need to hear so they can see what's on offer for their kids, and they can feel the truth of knowing that they can do it? So give them a vision. Once they know the vision, then they're ready to do it. I'm going to come back to IKEA again. In IKEA, you don't just show up at IKEA and they go, welcome, want a marriage challenging task? Why not try Ecoforg? And just hand you the instructions. They let you see it. They let you try it out. IKEA is all about like laying in beds you have no intention of buying, and standing and typing at desks that you're like, ooh, maybe I am a stand-up typing person. You try stuff out and you feel like you have gotten a sense of it, and then you're willing to take it home and put it up, but only because you've convinced yourself of the need. And sometimes our parents need to be convinced of the need before they're willing to take those steps in. The second thing we need to give them, not only of a vision, but we need to give them skills. Skills are really important. I think we assume that naturally parents know how to do this. Like, we assume that it's just a matter of convincing them to do it, and then all of a sudden parents know how. And in my experience of working with parents, they don't know how to necessarily disciple their children, because most of the ways that they have been discipled is through church. And so they've been discipled in a corporate environment. They've been discipled through group Bible studies, through reading books, through being preached at, through corporate worship. And so the thing that parents can grab, their skills, are, okay, I need to do church at home. And if parenting for faith really is helping the ordinary everyday be infused with God, the doing church at home is one of many ways we can do that, but it's not the core of how we do it. And parents need those skills of the one-to-one discipleship. So at Parenting for Faith, we have 5 key tools that we teach. You may be different, you can pick different 5 key tools, but we find that if you equip people on how to think, on how to be, on how to approach, then they can apply it to everything. Where if I just give them a resource and say, do this book at home with your kids, then they never grow in confidence that they're good enough, that they can do it. So the skills we teach are how to create windows, which is basically telling parents how to talk about their faith in a non-weird, normal way and say, this is what it looks like for me. We talk about framing with parents and teaching them how to explain where God is in the world and how to see where he is and how he is at work. We talk about unwinding wrong views of God, which is basically how to spot what God is doing and how your kid is believing about God and help sort of steer it. So if your kid is thinking God's angry all the time, how to steer it back. We talk about chatting and catching and how to help your kid find their authentic way of communication with God. And we talk about surfing the waves of how to spot what God's doing and jump on board. Those are our 5 skills that we teach. But once parents are equipped in those or any other skills you want to teach them, then they can pick up a book and say, this is right for my kid or not, or how can I help my kid connect through God in this? They begin to use tools because they themselves understand that they are the resource, they are the gift. They have skills to help their unique children meet and know God, because we don't get to know their kids as well as they know their kids. The best person that's positioned to disciple their children are parents. And if we give parents a vision of what's possible for their kids and give them the skills to do it, then they're ready for anything. And so Parenting for Faith has a free course that you can run as a church for parents to do that. I know Care for the Family has the Raising Faith course. But even if you don't use a course and just pick up a skill and think, I'm going to teach parents through a morning, through Sunday morning services, through anything, there are so many different ways of doing that. The book, It Takes a Church to Raise a Parent, has many different ways of teaching parents skills. So however you do it, give parents vision, give parents skills, so that we can be IKEA and help everybody engage.
Thank you, Rachel. She has brought us lots of knowledge and understanding around the importance of casting vision for our families, but also some of those skills that they need to be encouraged in, to grow in order to nurture faith at home. We are going to hear a few thoughts now from our audience here at Cliff College. And so let's have a little look. We're over there. Do you want to say who you are and where you've come from as well, please?
Hi, I'm Sue Mitchell. Come from Liverpool, from the Diocese of Liverpool. And it's just a couple of thoughts on both speakers this morning. Being based in Liverpool, it's a very, very diverse culture. We have a very mixed bag of people, really. So the analogy of preparing the soils was an interesting one. And also being a gardener, I was thinking very much along, it'd be perfect to have wonderful John Innes number 3 soil full of all these incredible resources. But actually on the ground level, for me and for the people I was talking to, we're working very much more with grit and clay and mud, and definitely not a perfect soil. So really, I think what I'm trying to say is I can see the IKEA analogy, and maybe if IKEA starts making soil, we'll be onto a winner. Thank you.
Like, my question was regards programme, and if we're going to do like an IKEA approach with let's show you what you could have, and each child being unique, then it's like they're going to be unique, so we can't ever find a programme, we can't scroll the internet and say that one works, because we're going to know our children not better than the parents, but we're going to know what is right for our Sunday groups more than a programme will. So how do we tackle that?
Great, thank you. I'd like to reference the first one about the soil first. Yes, Sorry, I was just wandering around. I completely understand that, because it'd be great if we had perfect Christian parents who've been Christian since they were children, who know all this stuff, and it's just about getting them encouraged. But I think for me, the principles apply even down to parents who have absolutely no faith. We're working sometimes, in rough estates, if we're talking about different socioeconomic levels, if we're talking about people who have no faith. And for me, what I found in the IKEA approach is that often when we're dealing with people with no faith, we default to dentists, because we're like, okay, well, you don't have it, I'll take it off of you. And what I found in working with people in the community is that when I say, you've got it, I admire your parenting, and actually you are still the primary spiritual discipler of your kid. I can never be as influential as you. So to the extent that you have faith, I would really encourage you to talk about it with your kid. And so for me, what happens is I have the ideal. I want a fully signed up Christian parent discipling fully. And so therefore, if I have a nominal Christian parent, then I'm like, you're not doing a good job, let me take it away. As opposed to saying, right, well, to the extent that you have faith, you can help your kid with that. So I've had so many different times where I've run community events and said, welcome, come on in, and we'll do just a fun playtime. And I'll say, at some point, we'd love to get together and pray. And so if you have a faith, I'd love for you to get together and pray for your child, because I believe that God listens to the voice of a parent. And if you're not there yet, I'd love for what you to do is to do what we call blessing a child. Just put your hand on your kid, look him in the eyes, and say, this is all the wonderful things I want for you, because I believe that God listens to the heart of a parent. And whether you feel like you're praying or whether you're blessing, I see that significant. And so we train people to bless their kids. And many years later, many people have come back to me on the estate that I used to work and said, I've been in prison, I've come out, but I used to call my kids as much as I could, and every time I was on the phone, I blessed my kid, because I believe that I want God to give them something. And to me, I'm like, you know what? That's awesome. You are spiritually parenting great. And for us to believe in parents that much, I think is really significant. And the other one about IKEA and children, what I try to do is my IKEA approach is for enabling parents to grab onto stuff. And so what happens is when I send kids home from children's ministry, often what I'll do is I will try to help parents take whatever is happening to the next step in an IKEA approach. So on a Sunday morning, you can do a Sunday morning and have the IKEA approach in your head that says every kid is different. So you can do main teaching from the front and then say, right, we're going to process that. Who likes talking stuff through? There's a discussion group. Who needs to touch stuff with their hands while they process? Great. And you can create sort of working out bits rather than activities, but how do you process best activities to do that? But the IKEA approach is more for parents to say, going home and say, your stories are valuable, parents. We talked about fear today. Can you talk about fear with your kids this week in any way you want? You can share stories of your fear. That'd be so valuable for your kids. Or if you're watching a television program and someone's fearful, pause it and be like, what would you do in that situation? And have a God conversation. And to give lots of different options rather than just one. But say, if you're a talker, great. If you're not, great. If you want to plug into Bible, think of one Bible story that you're confused about and talk about. So it's about saying you have so many different, there's not just one way of working at it. Find one that works for you. Because otherwise, if we say, go home and do this activity, parents go, well, that's not me. I'm failing as a parent. I'm a terrible person. And so it's giving them those options.